This is a really interesting topic, and I think I do feel like a lot of the dialogue in the among the crop of tech investors that are now in bio is dominated by the idea of engineering being applied to biology, and I have nothing against that whatsoever. But I don't mind being a little controversial and saying that, like some of our most important investments aren't predicated on AI. They're using new chemistry, they're using new biology, they're using. In fact, I called the sector that I was planning on investing in new biology in 2017. I realized I was the only one calling it that, so I just started calling it synthetic biology, but now people are calling it tech bio. I think there are a lot of terms you could use, but at the end of the day, engineering is a very important component of it, but it's just one component, it's one side of the coin. There are companies that are entirely based on engineering, for example, chemoinformatics, bioinformatics companies where you're designing peptides or large molecules or small molecules based on AI, or in some cases even quantum algorithms, which we had a portfolio company in that category as well. But at the end of the day, the most compelling things that we see are not just AI based. And I do feel like that's one distinction between Civilization Ventures and some of the other funds that are out there, especially some of the tech funds that are doing bio, is that in every discussion, it's all about engineering, it's all about AI, and that's great. It's a feature of many of our companies' tech stack, but it's not the central point of it. Let me give you one example. We have a company called Foresight Diagnostics out of Stanford. We led the Series A just a quarter ago, and it's still in stealth mode, but it's doing absolutely amazing work on MRD, which is minimum residual disease in cancer. This is something that I've unfortunately had some experience with myself. My father just went through bladder cancer and had his bladder removed through what's called a radical cystectomy. And now the question, post-operatively, is whether he should be on adjuvant therapy. And in this case, checkpoint inhibitors like Opdivo. And really one of the gating items for that analysis is, does he have minimum residual disease? The bladder's not there. They remove in this type of surgery, they remove the bladder, the prostate, the lymph nodes, all in that area. But maybe the cancer metastasized to some distal site, like another lymph node. And so before I could give my father advice on whether he should go on a drug that costs $150,000 a year, at this point not really even reimbursed by Medicare for this indication, and suffer another year at the age of 80 of the adverse effects of these drugs, I need to know, does he have residual disease? Otherwise, what's the point? And so those tools aren't out there right now for bladder cancer. You could do a Natera panel. We actually have a company in our portfolio which has been instrumental in my work with my father over the last year, called Convergent Genomics. Total game-changing assay they have, which is able to find bladder cancer when there's some ambiguity in the detection stage, and they actually did so for my own father. But their test is not yet approved by the FDA. So there's no, right now people are doing scans, right? CT scans and seeing, do we see something on a scan? And that's not good enough. That's not nearly sensitive enough. And so that's what we invest in. We invest in technologies that have practical applications to changing people's lives for the better. And they bring together all these things. So Foresight Diagnostics, the company that I mentioned, doing MRD for lymphomas, they use software and informatics and all kinds of advanced tools. They use chemistry. They use other components of their technology that I probably can't get into, but it's not just that it's applying engineering to biology, although there are companies that do that. So I think there are people that are probably more qualified to speak to the specific companies that are only focused on engineering and how that impacts biology. We have some great companies in our portfolio, like Outpace Bio, that's come out of Lyle Pharma, that's doing that. That's where the thesis is really focused on, using Rosetta or using these engineering tools. But it's not the dominant thread in our thesis. It's a really important enabler of our thesis.